So let's now manage that list of goals. For this, I will again add some state here because my list of goals is also some data that changes dynamically. And as it changes, the UI should be updated. And that's a typical case for using state. And this state will be initialized with an empty array because I want to manage a list of goals. And initially I have no goal. Now I'll give this state a name of course goals because these are my goals for this course, let's say. And the set course goals updating function. And now in add goal handler, instead of logging our entered text to the console, we can call set course goals and update our goals. And in the end, I want to take my existing goals and append a new one. Now there are various ways of doing that. One way would be to create a new array and use the spread operator, these 3 dots, which is standard JavaScript code, modern JavaScript code, to spread my existing course goals into this new array so that I keep all the existing course goals, and then I add my new goal by adding the entered goal text, let's say, as a new goal. In this case, a goal is simply a string. We could do this, but if you followed a good React resource like my course or the official docs, then you know that this is not the best way of updating state if your new state depends on the previous state, which this state here does. If your new state depends on the previous state, a better way of updating is to pass a function to this state updating function, a function which will be called automatically by React to then derive the new state. And this function will automatically receive the existing state by React. So here we could turn this into an arrow function that gets the current course goals as an input, let's say, so as a parameter. And again, the value for this parameter will be provided automatically by React when it calls this updating function, or this function that's passed to the updating function to be precise. And now this value, current course goals, can be used inside this arrow function body. And now we do derive this new state in a better way. The other approach would have worked as well, but this is a recommended way, a best practice way of updating your state. So now we're updating this course goal state based on the old course goals by appending a new goal. The next step, of course, is to now output the list of goals here. And how does this work? Well, it works basically as it does in React for the web as well. We have an array of values which we want to output. And in React for the web, we would use the map method typically to map our array of data, of strings or objects, into an array of JSX elements, which can then be output in the JSX code returned by this component. And we can do the same thing here. Instead of outputting this dummy text down there, I want to output something dynamic, which we do by adding curly braces, opening and closing. We can now refer to the course goals array and call the map method on it. A standard JavaScript method because we are writing standard JavaScript code here, as you learned. Now this map method receives a function, as it always does, and here I'll pass in an arrow function, which as an argument, as a parameter, gets the individual values stored in course goals. So my goals here, the single goals I have in this array of goals, this function is called for every item in the array. So every function call receives a single goal. And then as a return value in this arrow function, we return the JSX element that should be rendered for the individual goal. And in this case, I want to output the goal text. So here I will render a text JSX element. And then between the opening and closing tags, I output goal. Since my goals are just strings here in this array, because I just add my entered goal text, which is just the text that was provided, and therefore just a string, I can simply output the goal between those tags like this, because goal will just be a string. And with that, if we save this, and we give this a try here, learn React Native, if I click add goal, this is added. But we also get a warning here. The same will be true on the iPhone here. If I learn React Native, it works. If I learn it with multiple exclamation marks, I still see that it works. I add another goal now as expected, but we get a warning here. We get a warning that each child in a list should have a unique key prop. And this is actually a warning you might know from React for the web as well, because this is a warning that has nothing to do with React Native. Instead, with React in general, when outputting a list of data as we're doing it here, every item in that list should receive a key prop, which uniquely identifies the individual list item. Under the hood, this helps React update the list in an efficient way, so to say. I do explain this in greater detail in my React course, but you should always add this key prop to the individual items that you're outputting as part of a list. Now, the value you pass to key can be anything, but it should be something unique that uniquely identifies the concrete value that you're outputting here. In this case, I'm just outputting goals, which are just strings, so I'll take the goal string itself. This is actually not necessarily unique, because I could enter the exact same goal text twice, but it's good enough for now. We'll improve this soon. Now, with this key prop added here, though, now if I add another goal, I don't get the warning again. And of course, here we don't have to enter the same text all the time. We can also learn different pieces of text, like learn all the details. And as you see, our list keeps on growing here. So with that, we're now able to handle the user input, store it, and react to a tap on this button. And then we do something which you certainly did many times with React for the web. We're outputting that data here in a list. But that's of course not all we want to do.